friends. So excited to see you guys tonight, and we're gonna act like it's Tuesday because kind of in my head it's Tuesday because I kind of missed a whole day there in the middle. We are gonna talk about washing your food tonight, your produce. So a quick poll, honest time, truth time. Who washes their produce? Like legit washes their produce. Because I will be completely honest, probably up until like a year ago, I just kind of rinsed it in the water or like under the sink before I cut it. And if I'm completely honest, I still occasionally just rinse something off underwater before I just cut it and eat it. And then I was doing research for this class, and I've been using the thieves wash and stuff a lot more in the last 6 months to a year. And after researching more of what I'm going to share tonight, I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing? So I'm really excited to share some of the things that I found today. And let us maybe just kind of dive in. You know, my Taco Tuesday staple, got a White Claw. So let's chat produce. Okay, so like I said, I would just kind of wash it underwater is what I used to do. And then I, especially like avocados, watermelons, cantaloupes, things like that, like how am I going to wash a watermelon? Like how am I going to like maneuver cantaloupe? Like it seemed like way too much hassle to me. But if you're thinking about it, you are taking a knife and cutting around the edge of that, and that knife is going through I feel really weird with my fingernails here. This is new for me. I don't normally wear nail polish these days. Feeling kind of cool, kind of fashiony. Moving on. But so I know when you cut the rind of like your watermelon, your avocado, all those things, whatever is on the rind, you are slicing into the fruit or into the meat of it, the avocado. You know, all of these things you are putting inside your food. So I've tried to be a lot more mindful recently of even like difficult foods, trying to get those washed. And so these fruit and veggie soak and the spray, which I'm going to show you guys in just a second, has been such a huge benefit. And I'm going to discuss at the end also a DIY that you can do if they're ever out of the thieves wash, which they occasionally do go in and out of stock, and what you can do if you right now want to immediately start making this massive change in your kitchen and you can't get the thieves spray or the thieves soak fast enough. So let's talk about some of the issues. So because of the mass production required for grocery stores and for our type of economy, it's going to require industrial strength chemicals to ward off the insects, the fungus, the critters, all the things that come in contact with your food between the farm that it's brought and the grocery store that it is set out at. And so because of that, there's a lot of things that are used on your produce that I wasn't aware of until I did this research. Like everyone knows about waxes. We're going to talk about wax here in a second. Like the waxy coating that's on apples. Like everybody knows about that. But there's so much more that I had no idea about. And so there's actually 7 different fungicides that are approved to use on your produce, but only one of them is actually approved by the EPA, which I found very interesting. So, and you also probably know, this is just like general information in case you didn't, but you also may not know that organic, or you probably already know, organic food is going to come in contact with a lot less pesticides and herbicides and things like that than your conventional produce. Either way, it needs to be washed. So if it's not getting chemicals and junk and stuff on it at the farm or in transit, then think about it being touched and handled. Like if you're looking for that very particular type of apple, you want to look and check it out. How many other people have looked and checked out that apple before you took it home? What else was laid on the conveyor belt before you put your produce on it that the cashier picked up and weighed and checked out and put in your basket? And who else was in the basket, or what other kid licked that basket or your cart before your food was placed in it? So there's so many things that happen with our produce before it ever gets into our home. So I just wanted to like briefly just like remind us of all the different places that our food has been and why it's so important that we wash it. So our body tends to be able to flush out chemicals and toxins. And we talk a lot about this when we talk about things that are going on and in our bodies, whether it's lotions or the oils that we use, or the shampoos and conditioners, soaps that we use, all of those things all go on our skin, which is our largest organ. And so they have this process called bioaccumulation. And so when you have these toxins that are built up for a long period of time, it gets harder and harder for your body to be able to flush those out, especially for kiddos or for infants or babies. So even when I was typing this out today, I was thinking about my son who's 1, he just turned 1, and all of the new foods, all of the fresh produce that we've been giving to him for the first time. Have I washed all of it really well? There's always grace. There's always grace for the changes that we want to make in the future that we didn't make in the beginning. And so, but I was thinking, how many of these things have been building up in his body already because they haven't been washed properly, or even though you've washed them properly, doesn't necessarily mean that you can get everything out of it. So there's just so many different factors. And while grace is important, we also want to do our best to use wisdom to make the changes in our home that need to be made. So organic is going to have far less contaminants, but not all of us can afford to go all organic with all things. And so conventional, for sure, you want to wash really well, and organic, do it anyways. So let's talk about what these things are. 1 second, let me see. Oh, this was something, okay. So when I was reading, there is the biggest insecticide is called I'm going to read it so I don't do it. Organophosphate, okay? Organophosphate is found to be on 81% of our conventional produce. Conventional meaning non-organic. So 81% of our produce is covered in organophosphate. And so what that is like I said, it's an insecticide that is used to deter bugs. And even though it's meant to deter bugs, that does not mean that it can't affect us when it is left on the produce. And so they were saying that the CDC, and I can link it in the information here below, is the article that I was reading, said the CDC did a study a while back that showed there was a link between leukemia patients and high levels of this organophosphate, which was kind of mind-blowing to me. So I found that very interesting. Again, I'm happy to share. I'll share the link to this information at the bottom of this live tonight. But I thought that was insane. So if you've heard it talked about before, I don't want to botch the statistics, but I want to say close to like 90% of cancers and those sort of things are within our control. Things that we consume or put on us or in us, or things that we're exposed to in our environment. Very few of them are actually genetic. And this just reminds me again of that. And so, yes, so washing them, and it's not like, a lot of government entities and things like that will say, well, this don't harm you. This isn't, it's so little, it doesn't really matter, which is true. Same for our soaps and for our shampoos and things like that. Like, it's so very little sometimes that it doesn't matter. However, when you are using a shampoo every single day, or putting a lotion on every single night, or eating the same food that is covered in the same toxic things for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or a meal every single day of the week, those are what we're talking about with bioaccumulation. Those are the things that build up in your body. And eventually there gets to be a point where your body can't flush that out, and that's when we begin to see signs of health issues. And so so organophosphate I thought was very interesting. So let's talk just briefly. I won't go into a huge spiel on it all, but what is on our produce? What are these things that are on our produce? Waxes. Everyone's pretty familiar with that one. 80% of our produce has wax. So including cherries, I could go through a whole list. Plums, nectarines, avocados, bell peppers, peaches, grapefruits, lemons, limes, melons, oranges, parsnips, pineapples, pumpkins, squashes, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, bell peppers, all those things have a wax coating. Most of us just think about, or I at least just thought about, apples. Sometimes I feel like I can see it on peppers, but there's this waxy coating that we're all pretty familiar with on apples especially. And so the FDA has approved this waxy coating, but it is made from shellacs and paraffins, palm oil derivatives, synthetic resins, So what's the big deal? Because the FDA says that it's safe. But these are also the same ingredients that we use for waxes on our car, on our floor. And so if someone were not to wash it, we would also be consuming and eating those. So these waxes that go on our food do several things. So they trap the pesticides that are sprayed on them. They trap the pesticides in the residues under the surface of the wax. They trap the pathogens and bacterias under the surface as well. They use a type of fungicide in the wax, which is just like another layer of a chemical. And then most of the waxes are also a petroleum-based wax, which if you've talked about petroleum as far as like in candles and in sometimes some lotions, things like that, petroleum you don't want in your body in any way. It also includes casein a lot of times, which is a common allergen for people. It also may include ethyl alcohol and ethanol. Also ingredients you don't want to be ingesting. So that's waxes. That's ones that we're pretty familiar with. And already I'm like, how can I make sure I'm cleaning my food even better? So waxes, we're familiar with waxes. Sodium hypochlorite is another one I'll just briefly talk about. It's an active ingredient in most of our household bleaches. Did you hear that? An active ingredient in household bleach. It's often used post-harvest, and it's managed as like an algicide, a disinfectant, a sanitizer, and it's approved to use post-harvest. But I don't want that in my body. Another one, maleic hydrazide. It's a compound used to inhibit sprouting in things like onions, potatoes, carrots, things like that. It helps induce dormancy in your citrus fruits. It helps plant growth regulation of potatoes and onions, beans, beets, corn, lima beans, things like that. It's actually, this maleic hydrazide is banned in Austria and Denmark, which you tend to find so many things that are banned in other countries that the United States just willfully allows, which is very frustrating. But this maleic hydrazide can cause skin irritation to your eyes, your respiratory tract. It can cause genetic defects. Obviously, these are in large quantities. This is not like I didn't wash my apple one day and now I have like skin irritation. It's probably from that. No, this is again a buildup or consistent use of something that has not been taken care of. It affects your nervous system, things like that. So that was maleic hydrazide. The other big one, and then we're just going to jump into the actual wash, is sulfuryl fluoride. I think all of us are pretty familiar with fluoride. You can make your own determinations and research on whether your family will use fluoride things or not. It's a fumigant. It's applied to stored crops after they're harvested. So it leaves a significant amount of fluoride on the treated foods. So fluoride is a neurotoxin. So obviously not great. There has also been, I'll again link the information where I found this stuff, but there's been 30 published articles that have reported an association between fluoride and reduced IQ in children. So it's not good. Especially, again, you have to think about children and babies having smaller bodies, smaller livers, smaller ability to be able to flush some of this stuff out. So that's why, especially as moms, you want to be careful with the things that you're bringing into your home and careful with the things that you're giving your children. And like I said, there's grace upon grace for all the years that I have not done well, whether it's with products or food or anything. But we know better and we do better. And so the sulfuride fluoride that is on the outside of our food, we don't want to ingest it. We don't want our kids ingesting it. The studies that have been shown for fluoride are just showing impaired cognitive function, things that, and there's just a general American consensus from the article I was reading that children are exposed to far too much fluoride, and this is probably part of it. So the sulfuryl fluoride. So waxes, sulfuryl fluoride, the maleic hydrazide and the sodium hypochlorite that we just talked about. Those are kind of the main ones that you're going to find on the outsides of your produce. So what should we do? We should wash them. So what I was finding, especially with the waxes, they were saying that just washing it or sticking it under water is not going to do anything. They were even saying sometimes putting it under hot or like boiling water sometimes doesn't even do anything. And I'm like, that's insane. Enter. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So if you're familiar with oils, you are familiar with the amazing power that citrus oils have on cutting through grease, on cutting through stains in your clothing. If you've ever made a stain spray using lemon oil, you know citrus fresh is great for adding to like getting smells and stinks and stuff like that out. You know purification oils are great with purifying the air. You know the benefit of some of these oils that are in these products. So that's the kind of stuff that you're putting in this sprays and soaks to clean your produce. So I'm going to show you what these two are and talk about them. So the oils that are in it is a combination of the digest oils, purification, and I just blanked. Thieves. Sorry, I was like, oh, I thought I said thieves, purification, and digest. All powerhouse oils. If you have the starter kit, thieves and digest, you love them already. So I literally just finished a bottle of purification oil this week because we have some skunk issues that are for another day. Powerhouse oils are what we're in here. You can literally see a difference. I told you I was going to show an example. I'll put it in a picture below. I washed broccoli, and you can see these kinds of examples all over. I know Nina's done a video of it as well. 2 heads of broccoli. I washed one underwater. One I soaked in the thieves, and you can legit see a difference. I showed it to my kid and my husband, or my kids and my husband at dinner tonight. I was like, yeah, I can't believe this. Like, I've seen other people do it, but then when I do it, it's just even more mind-blowing. The broccoli, the 2 heads of broccoli that I washed differently, completely different color. Completely different. It was insane. So, not to mention, I see an actual help. Like I've heard people say, oh, when you wash it with thieves, your produce lasts longer. I'm like, that's silly. No, it's true. It's really true. I'm seeing this happen with blueberries currently that have been washed and in my fridge for 5 days now. No sign of like deteriorating. I feel like normally by this point they have like shriveled up and are awful. They're completely great still. I've done it with strawberries and seen them last for longer. So if you've ever even heard of like the little tip of putting purification oil in your flowers to help them last longer, same concept. So these oils are cleaning, cutting through the waxes and the disgusting, gross chemicals and toxins that are found on the outside of your stuff, washing those off, and maintaining the health of your fruit and vegetables longer. It's insane. I'm like, why would I not do this? So how do you do it? What do I do? The thieves wash, all you need is literally a capful. A capful. So this stuff, I'm already, let's see, I'm about halfway through it, and I've had this since the summer. Like, it lasts so long. You need a capful per gallon. So, and then you let, you put all your produce, and then you put a capful, cover it, and you just let it sit. I've read different things. I've read between 1 and 2 minutes. I've heard between 10 and 20 minutes. The back of the container itself says 1 to 2 minutes. I just let it go. If I'm totally honest, I'm like, what can hurt? So I just, what I do, this is how I roll. I go to the grocery store, I come home, I literally cut the bags of the apple, cut the bags of the lemons, cut the bag of the avocados, dump everything into my sink. All of it. Grapefruits, peppers, I dump it all. Put it all in, and put it probably like 2 capfuls at least, because I'm doing like the whole sink, and dump it in, fill it with water, and I let it sit while we do lunch or dinner, and then I let it drain out. I rinse it off, and then I set them on a towel, and sometimes I just let them air dry and then put them in the fridge the next morning. That's what's easiest for me to do. And I love doing that when I get home from the grocery store, because then I know when my kids grab an apple off the counter, when my husband grabs a piece of fruit to go to work the next morning, it's already washed, it's already taken care of. I don't have to go through the process of going and washing it and letting it soak like it's ready to go. So that has been the biggest help for me, is to have the veggie soak and just do it the same day that I go to the grocery store. The other option is their spray, which this is an excellent like little gift one. It's great if you're traveling, you want to take it with you. I use this one occasionally if I've got, if I like went on like a quick grocery run, I'm like, oh, I need berries, we're almost out, or oh, I need whatever. This one you spray on and rub, and then after like 30 seconds you wash it off. So a little bit different concept, but if you don't have like a mass amount of produce or fruit that you need to wash, then the spray might be the best option for you. So this is what cuts through the junk. This is what helps clean the things that are going to be going on our in our body. So it's huge, and I'm going to be using it even more. So even on the tough stuff like the cantaloupes and the avocados that are hard to get clean, I went to wash those too. So yeah, so if you are scrambling and now all of a sudden you've had this life epiphany that you must be washing your produce immediately and you can't get this fast enough, or this ever goes out of stock, let's talk about a DIY option. So 2 cups of filtered water, half a cup of vinegar. Like you can use white distilled vinegar. If you'd rather have apple cider vinegar, you can do that. It's not going to be as cost effective. White distilled vinegar is going to be your cheapest option if you're going to go DIY and easy. So 2 cups of water, half a cup of the vinegar, and then do 10-ish drops. Some of the things I read said you could use lime or orange or lemon oil. Personally, I would use lemon because I know how effective lemon oil is through cutting through stains and sticky and all this stuff. So my personal preference would always be lemon oil. Shake it all up, put it all together, put it in a spray bottle, spray your produce, let it sit, wash it off. So that is what I've got tonight. Let me know if you have not tried this and you want to. I would love to send you a sample, for real. So let me know below. If you haven't tried it, I'll send you a sample and you can give it a whirl. It does not change the taste of your food. I thought it might. I was a little concerned about that for a bit. It does not. And it's great. It's the best. It's really the best. So if you haven't added it to your order, if you haven't tried it before, I would suggest doing it. But if you want to try it before you do that, let me send you a sample. So put your name below and I'll send you some. And go forth and conquer with your produce and vegetables this week. Thanks for joining, guys. If you have any questions or your own praises that you want to sing about the wash, let me know.